Hello, today I'm playing Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 3, The Rise and Fall. I recorded this last night over 2 hours of footage, only for there to be a bug with the latest version of OBS, which meant that it didn't record the game volume at all. So here I am. I have completed all of Chapter 3, so this is not a blind run at all. Which is quite a shame because there were some rather spoopy moments. But at least I do get to just bomb it through the game. And that's a very good thing too, because Chapter 3 is the worst one yet. There are so many problems with this. And as I progress through, I'll go into more detail. The first problem is immediate. You can see this texture here, this damaged wall that's been boarded up. You can see it twice immediately. This texture constantly pops up throughout all 3 chapters. And it gets really boring just seeing it over and over again. I'd much prefer it if the walls were just blank, that they were just clean instead of making it stand out, because it does break the immersion quite a lot and makes the environment just seem boring. When we last left off, Boris was alive and he just walked up to us. He doesn't talk at all, and in fact he doesn't do anything. Whenever a monster appears he just covers his face and that's it. He is involved in the story as time goes on, but only to a minor regard.
I'm not getting out of here that easy. Need to open the door, but the lever is missing. Boris probably has it. Hey buddy, you seen that lever handle around? Or are you holding it hostage until I make you something to eat? I thought so. Let's see what we got.
The objectives in this game are pathetic. The character says, I better go speak to Boris, and then you get a tip, talk to Boris. This happens throughout the entirety of this chapter. It's almost insulting just how pathetic the game treats us.
That should be enough.
While we're making Boris soup, if you look on the table, you can see that they've been playing cards with each other, and it appears that it's a perfect tie between Boris and our character Henry.
There you go.
But yeah, we really smacked that soup out of us. Shame you can't see him eat anything at all, he just seems to disappear into the void. This is a very bizarre moment. Are you sure you want to leave the safe house?
Let's see what's out there. Don't wander off.
There's no point staying here. This isn't some sort of hub, you never return. And it also doesn't make any sense at all why you can't return. So you see the door closed, but why can't you open it again? And how do you know you can't return here, because the game tells you that before the door closes to begin with. These bins are popping up all over the place. Sometimes if you look down inside them, you can see that they're actually clipping through the floors.
Looks like it's really dark up ahead. Let's find some light.
Let's find some light. Find a source of light, says the game, immediately next to a flashlight. This game touts itself as a puzzle adventure, but there's no puzzles at all. It will always tell you the answer. A lot of the times it tells you the answer not even via the game storytelling itself, but those little objective pop-ups with the hints. And there's no real way the character should know these things, only because...
Did you hear that? Yeah, me either.
We as a player have access to, well, pop-ups and objective markers and various other stuff like that. You can't sprint at all for some reason. Oh, now you can, as soon as you... Ah, yes. So I can see, when I'm in the dark I can't sprint, and when I'm out I can. This mechanic doesn't pop up again.
Another dead end. I don't see any other way through. You got any ideas, Boris?
I don't know why an objectivist talked to Boris, considering the main character just himself talked to Boris. All we did is go up to him and press the E key, but that doesn't do anything. Your character doesn't say anything new to him or interact in any alternate method. One thing I do like about the game is some of the new environments. This room is fantastic.
Wow, I don't remember any of this.
It's really well thought out. I like the use of these giant and tiny plushies just dotted all over the place. It's very cool. Some of the smaller plushies you can interact with, press the E key on them, and they do a little squeaky noise.
Always on time.
These devices, the punch clocks,
Always on time.
I'm not sure what they're for. I used to think it was like some sort of checkpoint or save system, but I was never able to actually discover what it was for.
Why is there always something blocking the door? Gotta be a way through.
To solve this puzzle, it's simple enough. You just gotta remove all of the items that are blocking the cogs, these little plushies here. However, we can't actually do that at this very moment in time. Gameplay in Bendy and the Ink Machine always devolves into 3 different methods. In Bendy and the Ink Machine, gameplay never evolves past either basic combat or just hidden object finders. Find X of this item for some arbitrary reason. It happens all the time. It's incredibly dull. Oh wait, you can interact with the plushie, and when you do it changes shape. That's something I did miss before.
I don't be seeing what the big deal is. So what if I went and painted some of those Bendy dolls with a crooked smile? That's sure no reason for Mr. Drew to be flying off the handle at me. And if he really wants to be so helpful, he could be telling me what I'm to be doing with this warehouse I got full of that angel whatchamacallit. Not a scrap of that mess be selling. You'd probably have to melt it all down to be rid of it all.
There's a really horrible bug with this room. You have to go back here at certain points because the game loves padding out its game time with backtracking. And you can pull this lever to have this shelf block the door. If you block it and you get killed by a monster here, you respawn on the other side and you cannot return as a result because the lever's only on the one way. It does mean that you have to quit the game. However, there's another bug. If you press escape, sometimes what occurs is you have no mouse. Your mouse will not show up, so you have to alt-tab, quit the game, and then come back and reload it in and then go through it again. Far more effort than this game's fucking worth. Now, this scene is blatantly from Bioshock. The moment where Andrew Ryan speaks to you for the very first time, and then the splicers start trying to smash through the windows to get to you. Bioshock does seem to be the main inspiration for Chapter 3. There are several scenes where it does seem like it came straight out of that game. As you can probably guess, this chapter is mainly about Alice Angel. And of course she's introduced to us via a jump scare, because subtlety is not something this game has. Alice Angel constantly goes on about how she wants to be your friend.
I see you there. A new fly in my endless web. Come along now. Let's see if you're worthy to walk with angels.
She's a villain and the game is constantly trying to tell us otherwise. You keep doing objectives for Alice. She's saying that she'll help you fight Bendy. But she doesn't. All that happens is she has a bit of a strop and then betrays you. You can see it a mile off. It's very silly why we even bother to listen to her. When I last played the game, I went through the angel route. So this time I'm going to go through the demon method. In the angel route, there's no ink on the ground at all.
There's nothing wrong with dreaming. Wishing for the impossible is just human nature. That's how I got started. Just a pencil and a dream. We all want everything, without even having to lift a finger. They say you just have to believe. Belief can make you succeed. Belief can make you rich. Belief can make you powerful. Why, with enough belief, you can even cheat death itself. Now that is a beautiful and positively silly thought.
Boris! Oh, you scared me to death. Don't suppose you found anything we can use to protect ourselves with. As will do.
When I did my previous videos on Bendy and the Ink Machine, I decided to read up more on Disney and their early history. Turned out in the early 1900s they had a bit of an advertising war with another company called Fleischer Studios. They're more famous for inventing the character Betty Boop. They also did another character called Bimbo.
Looks like to open this, we're going to need to throw 2 levers at once. You get this one. I'll find the other.
While Disney focused on more whimsical tales, family-friendly versions of very grim fairy tales, like say Cinderella, where the characters cut off their feet when the stepmothers have real bad trouble fitting into the slippers. Now you may think that you have to run away from this guy, he's incredibly slow. You don't, all you have to do is hit him. The only time you ever have to run away is by Bendy the Demon himself. Combat in this game is ridiculous. As you can see, you just step back Step forward, hit him, and then just repeat that constantly. With other enemies, if you circle strafe around them, it is impossible for them to hit you. So anyway, Walt Disney had very happy and whimsical beauty in their cartoons. From the rather dire Brothers Grimm tales, most of the times you see princesses and daughters being sold as literal currency. Oh, there's a monster in the field. Whoever kills this creature will gain my daughter as a gift and she'll be your wife forever. It's very unfortunate to be a woman in those tales.
You're so interesting. So different. I have to say, I'm an instant fan. Looks like you've got a date with an angel. Come to me now. Level 9. Just follow the screams.
That doesn't sound foreboding at all. She says follow the screams, but, well, there are no screams here, other than her herself. The game store description for this goes on about solving the riddle of Alice Angel, but there is no riddle, there's no puzzle. The store description is, well, false. It constantly goes on about trying to tell you this interesting story of deceit and mystery, but no, none of it exists.
There's a whole
Another day, another dollar.
world out here.
Anyway, I'm constantly getting distracted. Walt Disney went on their path. Fleischer Studios with their stories were a lot more, I guess you could say, dirty. It was all about underground cities and sewers, and there was like lots of smoking and alcohol depictions. It was a very seedy America. My favourite one is the Wanna Be a Member sketch, where the character Bimbo is being recruited by a cult and they're basically torturing him until he joins in, and kids were watching this. It was crazy just seeing it. If you type in Wanna Be a Member on YouTube and you'll see it. It's pretty good stuff.
These blasted elevators. Sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they come, and sometimes they keep on going to hell and back. I keep telling these people, if Mr. Joey Drew keeps cutting corners like this, someone's sure to end up falling to their death. And it sure ain't gonna be me. I'm taking the stairs.
So remember when Alice said, just follow the screams? Well, where are they? Where is the noise? There's a big disconnection between what the game tells you in its story and what you're actually meant to do and what you actually experience. Boris is just going to stand there looking at his friend for a while. You can see there are many Borises here. And also the Butcher Gang. There are 3 members of the gang and they do appear quite often.
Look around. It took so many of them to make me so beautiful. Anything less than perfect was left behind. I had to do it. She made me.
Who would have thought? Me having lunch with Joey Drew. Apparently times are tougher than I thought. For a moment there, I thought I'd be stuck with the chick. But I gotta say, he wasn't at all what I expected. Quite the charmer. He even called me Alice. I liked it.
Now we come to the question. Do I kill you? Do I tear you apart to my heart's delight? The choices of the beautiful are unbearable. How's a girl to choose? Take this little freak, for instance. He crawled in here, trailing his tainted ink to my door. It could have touched me. It could have pulled me back. Do you know what it's like living in the dark puddles? It's a buzzing, screaming well of voices. Bits of your mind swimming like fish in a bowl. The first time I was born from its inky womb, I was a wiggling, pussing, shapeless slug. The second time, well, it made me an angel. I will not let the demon touch me again. I'm so close now. So almost perfect. Yes, I will spare you. For now. Very active. I'll even let you ascend and leave this place. If you will do a few easy, weensy little favors Return to the lift, my little errand boy. We have work to do.
Return to the lift, Alice Angel says. Tip, return to the lift, says the objective. Spoiler alert, she betrays you, she doesn't let you escape at all. It's complete nonsense. Why we have characters like this where they are very blatant villains. You could spot it instantly that she's just gonna make you do all her work for her, and as soon as you do and you go in the elevator, boom, it smashes down. I called it instantly, that's what happens. And I'm telling you now because this story has no integrity or suspense or interest. It only gets worse as time goes on.
I'll make this simple. Look for valve pads. Turn the little wheels. Then bring me their power cores. Please don't make me regret sparing you. I can always change my mind.
She goes on about how she can kick your ass at any moment, but if she's so hardcore, why the hell does she need you to do all these tasks for her?
There are so few rules to our world now. So little truths. But there is one rule we all know and respect down here. Beware the ink demon. Stay out in the open for too long and he will find you. For if you see him, you'd better hide. If you don't, well, I enjoy our deed. Now, let us begin our work.
You can see these statues of Bendy. These are respawn points for if you get killed. As she implied, Bendy will now be appearing. You always know when he's coming because massive stains of ink just appear all over the walls and it heralds his arrival. He walks incredibly slowly, but when he sees you he bombs it to the point where he's even faster than you are. It's quite a disconnect. This game touts itself as a puzzle, but I wonder what the answer could be. Mayhaps it is the 3 very obvious circles on the sides of these tubes. This scene is very cheap as well because as you're solving it, monsters spawn directly behind you. It takes ages as well doing this when the answer is always obvious. There are no real puzzles at all. And look at this guy, he just keeps getting stuck in the wall. Bendy will sometimes also get stuck in the wall. Now, watch this. I'm just going to circle straight around him, not even going to attack him. And you see, can't do anything at all. Cannot hurt me one single bit. I can hit him now. If you look at the top of his face, you can see a mouth. It's pretty cool looking. Sadly, that's the only thing he's got going for himself. I hate these ink guys. They're so boring in their appearance. They're just black slime. Now, these little miracle machines here, you can hide inside them. A bit like Alien Isolation. If you do hide inside, the enemies basically forget about your existence. At least sometimes. It's a bit weird. If a member of the Butcher gang is chasing you when you hide inside the lockers, they will just stop there. And if it's Bendy, he'll despawn. But only sometimes, and what can happen is he just waits there for you. I don't know if that's a bug. You see the game, there's Bendy. I'm just going to hide in here. He blatantly knew I was there, but as soon as you enter the locker, nope, he forgets about your existence. He moves so slowly, it's very boring to see. I'm just going to carry on the puzzle because this guy is an annoyance. Every single time you attempt to solve these pipe puzzles, well I say puzzles, the answer is right there, then what occurs is a monster will always spawn behind you without fail. It will do this for every single one. And now he's walking into the wall. Fortunately he isn't stuck there. When I first played through this game that happened quite a number of times. Oh no, he sees me. Well I say sees me. If you're in a certain distance of him you'll always know you're there. Oh for fuck's sake, a third time. This game isn't scary at all. In fact the spookiest thing we've seen all October is that the Imagine Games network, better known as IGN, now own Humber Bundle. That was a weird thing to see. A for-profit AAA biased review site now owning a publisher and storefront. A lot of people have been saying it's a major conflict of interest. Those words in particular keep getting spouted about a lot. What may happen is IGN will give really big reviews for games that they want sold. and they will only review games that exist on their storefront and ignore everything else, or give every other game bad reviews and blatantly advertise their own products. Because if they own a site telling you what games are good and bad, and they also own a website where you can purchase such games, then that is a cause for concern. It may not be, however. It may be really good for Humble, and it may be even better. It is a very odd thing to see this mix of a review site and a storefront combining into one entity. The co-founder and CEO of Humble, I believe his name is Jeremy Rosen or Jeffrey Rosen, he said it was a perfect match and that he could think of no one better. That's really weird that a website based around charity can think of no one better to join them than a for-profit organisation, especially one so based on the AAA industry, when Humble focused mainly more on indie developers, because they help publish indie devs. You may have noticed every single time I was activating those valves, a monster would always spawn behind me without fail. The first time, okay, it's a little bit of a jump scare. The second, third and fourth, however, it's boring. There is a massive lack of imagination in Bendy and the Ink Machine. And it's very weird because the game looks so unique, but it feels so boring.
Quite the efficient little errand boy, aren't you?
This part of the level is quite unusual. You can see that valve. It means absolutely nothing. You don't interact with this area at all. So I don't know why it's there. Maybe an old design of the level that they just decided to keep behind. Some sort of puzzle they didn't include in the end result, maybe. Oh, you can see these valves over the place, but they don't do anything. You can use the elevator to get around, and if you don't, you are forced to use the stairs, and it takes absolutely ages. Hidden object finders and fetch quests, that is literally all Bendy and the Ink Machine is. With a little bit of combat every now and then. While I say combat, it's just press the mouse button a few times. If you get hit, just run away and your health will regenerate. Earlier I said that there are various Bioshock inspirations in this chapter, and Alice Angel is one such. The way she talks, you can hear a male monster voice, but also a female pretty voice. When Alice's voice becomes more pretty, the girly female voice, she sounds almost identical to her little sister from Bioshock. She even mentions angels as well. Again, Bioshock, the little sisters are always talking about creating angels and seeing angels.
The swollen ones.
Phrasing.
They're just stuffed full of extra thick ink. It makes me sick. And yet, it's the perfect thing for keeping myself together. If you're gonna catch them, you'll have to learn to move quietly. Come back to my door. I have something that you'll need.
It's weird that Alice says come back to my door when in order to trigger that dialogue scene you have to be standing right next to the door anyway. The game always tells you what level the monsters are on. When you press escape you can see the objective and the tips, and you can see here we have to go to level 11. There's no way to know that that's where we have to go, only by looking at the tips and pressing escape. It would be so much better if Alice Angel said head to this floor and then complete the objective, because it would keep you in the world instead of just having the tip screen tell us everything instead. These guys are called the Searchers, and despite their name they don't actually search at all, they just sit there and that's it. If you get too close to them they run away. Oh dear, you have to be careful of this guy. He's the strongest one of the lot because he's so tanky. We just have the words liar on his belt. He's got a great design with his head just floating about like that. Looks like it's attached to some sort of fishing hook almost. When you kill him and these Searcher guys, they leave a little blob behind. So you just gotta pick them up. Fetch quests and hidden object finders, that's all this game is. It's a terrible shame. Just by looking at the pictures and the trailer it looks so much more interesting than what it actually ended up as. One thing I don't get is how you've got a syringe and yet you're just smashing them with a basic melee attack. It would be so much better if you could actually see your character stab them. These monsters always spawn in set positions. It's about 3 or 4 areas in total. So remember this wall from the very beginning when I said it constantly appears? Here's one thing I really don't like about it. Your melee weapons can literally attack into the void. I can hear a heartbeat. That means Bendy is going to be here. And there he is. Oh fuck. Come on, let me in, let me in. Oh fuck's sake.